Ronny, first at bat of the season, first walk-off hit of your career. What are your emotions right now?
Primer turno de la temporada, tu primer walk-off en tu carrera. ¿Cuáles son las emociones ahora mismo para ti?
No, increíble de estar aquí, de poder aportar lo más que pueda, no importa las situaciones, solamente estar ready en el dugout y poner 100%.
You know, it's an incredible feeling, you know, trying to do whatever I can possibly do to help the team out, being ready inside in the dugout, in the cage. Yeah, but it's really exciting.
Carlos Mendoza told us before the game that he said to you, you probably wouldn't be starting much, but you will come up in big spots. What was your approach and mentality to this game knowing that?
Que Mendoza dijo que quizás tú no vas a ser un iniciador, pero que tú vas a tener momentos grandes aquí. ¿Cuáles son los pensamientos sobre eso?
No, con un equipo de 27 jugadores, mientras yo esté aquí, yo estoy parte del equipo y aportar lo más que pueda, como dije al principio.
You know, this is a 26-man group here, and I'm just here for whatever the team needs me to do, and whatever it is, I'm going to do it.
Ronny, you fall behind 0-2 on two good fastballs. You get a hold of that third fastball. What did you learn in those first two pitches from Seawald that you were able to take advantage of?
Que tú estabas atrás 0-2 en la cuenta. ¿Cuál ajuste tú pudiste hacer para poder tener éxito en ese turno?
No, el mismo approach, solamente estaba buscando mi picheo alto en la zona de atrás, picheo ahí donde yo pueda hacer un buen daño y poner la bola atrás.
You know, it was the same approach. I was just trying to get my pitch, a fastball up. I was able to get that, and I was able to execute on it.
Ronny, first big league walk-off hit. Congratulations. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Freddie, Carlos was just talking about how proud he was of Ronny. Just a pretty difficult spot, first at bat of the season. What are you thinking when you see him come through like that?
Amazing. I think that I was looking at him, and as soon that he was stepping on the box, you can see his confidence in his first swing. It was a really hard swing and on time too. I think that we all were confident that he was going to do something.
How difficult was it to pitch and command your stuff on a day like today?
Crazy, man. You know, it was a battle. Since the first pitch of the game, I knew, you know, I was a little uncomfortable, but it's going to happen, you know. We're going to have days like that. And for a moment, I thought that I was going to be able to finish the fifth without damage, but I couldn't. And I know that Brasso, he came in and he tried his best. But like I say, it's part of the game.
What made it so uncomfortable? Was it the wind or the cold? Or what?
Yeah, it was a little bit of everything, but more the wind. I think it was coming straight from home plate to me. But you know, I was trying to make the adjustment, but I couldn't. But it is what it is.
Yeah. It looked like you campaigned a little bit to stay on the mound there in the fifth. What did it mean just for Carlos to have that confidence in you to stick with it there?
You know, it means a lot for me, but I think as a pitcher in that situation, if I ask for an extra hit, I gotta make sure that I gotta finish, you know, there. But you know, hopefully I can replace that in the future and get better on that.
What do you think would be the key to just get a little bit deeper in these outings for you?
I think just, you know, keep pitching and trusting myself. I'm working on that. I think, you know, I have to be better. But I think that it's still early in the season, and I'm going to have at least 27, 28 more games. So I'm going to be making adjustments.
First one of the year. Welcome, guys.
Luke, first of all, we were just talking to Freddie about the conditions and how difficult it was. What was the biggest challenge of pitching in those conditions today?
Well, I'm trying to limit the nose blows. I felt like the first one I was putting on my winter ice skates and make sure the hammy didn't blow out there. Thankfully, we're good. But yeah, it's just things were firmed up on the mound from a pitching aspect, and then the wind's kind of blowing in pretty hard. It's in your face. I don't know. I mean, I'm in a box most of the game, so the heat is on and it feels pretty good until you got in the climate. So you really, you're really hoping to be efficient. But at the end of the day, it's early in the season. You know you're going to get this every year. And it's going to get really hot, and then we're going to complain about that too. So, and then we'll get to September, and we'll be right back where we started. So, I'm just happy to be here.
How do you approach those spots in particular when you're coming in with the ghost runner on at second base?
Well, I try not to think about it too much, as opposed to just staying in the routine, warming up. Going pitch to pitch, out to out. I know we've heard that 1,000 times, but I think it's really just that simple. It's trying not to project what the future holds. It's just kind of like being prepared in the moment. I didn't hope to go 2-0 to Arenado, and threw a pitch that he popped up and just kind of got me back into a better rhythm. I see the guy at second, but he is there, and I'm trying to keep him there. So we just trust our defense, and when I go 3-0 in my last hitter there, you're trying to get back in the count, and then there just comes a point where you're just like, I just got to be aggressive here. Like, I've got to trust what I'm doing. I can't try to get cute. I can't try to pitch around this and who's up next. I mean, I'm looking over on deck, and I'm just like, no, this is like, you need to go after this guy right now. And thankfully, he was able to throw some quality pitches and just got the good result.
What have you made of the performance of the bullpen as a whole here early in the season?
Yeah, I think we've been pretty steady. I think, people should feel comfortable when we come into the game. I think that's an art we want to try to keep as we continue to move along. Sorry about that. But, yeah, there's going to be moments. There's going to be moments where things don't fall our way. We obviously have to bounce back fairly quickly, meaning the next day, if they still like us then. But, it's just a part of being a reliever. Being a starter forever, like, you got to wait on it. But here you get a chance to get back at your next matchup. And I think that is just short-term memory and something that you should take pride in and, allow people to change their mind rather quickly.
Recognizing that you probably don't know Ronny Mauricio all that well, what does it say about a guy to come here, pinch it in the 10th inning of the game, not having played in the majors in quite a bit?
Yeah, I would love to lend his ear a time or two. We'll continue to build and chip away at that. But it's nothing new, right? When a guy comes up, you want to make that impact. I know the pressure he's feeling just to want to execute for our team, and not only for our team but for himself. It's an awesome moment to be presented. Oftentimes I feel like those moments tend to find you, whether you're a guy coming to a new position into the game or you make a nice play and you come up first. Like, baseball's got weird quirks like that, and I think it just looked like he was comfortable, that he was settled in, and he just got a pitch to hit, and elevation was the key there, and he did more than that. So happy to be on the right side of that one.
Brazoban had that strike three call back because of ABS. Just put yourself in his shoes. Like, how challenging would that be to have an inning end and then have to go back?
Yeah, that is a challenging part. I think that is the perfect example of what the ABS has for us. We want to get things right. We want the hitter obviously wanted to be right, and he was. But it's very close, and I think as a pitcher, I haven't gotten to quite experience that yet, but I would just imagine that your body just kind of tends to want to lean towards the celebratory part of it, but you kind of got to hold yourself. It's kind of like the play in the field when the challenge happens. Like, you see it as an out, and then you start to walk, and the umpire holds you up, and so there's like this weird like no man's land feel. I think it's a similar thing with the ABS, and in a crucial moment like that in a big inning, it's just so close. So I think it could be disheartening, but I think if you're in a good frame of mind, which it's not always going to happen, I think you got to fight for that. I think you got to fight to be prepared for the worst, and then be excited when it happens, because it's going to happen your way at some point.